Hello, I'm Charlotte So Natural, here in downtown Newton, Kansas, and welcome to Wisdom Wednesday. I am working on a project right now from one of Donna Robertson's 3-yard quilt books, and she has me making oversized half square triangles and trimming them down. So my very favorite method for doing that is using a Bloc ruler. And you can see this is my personal tool, have my initials on it, so when I take it to classes, I know that it's mine when I go back with it. I've marked with it, and so anyway, it's very well used. I love it. So let me tell you what the technique is. So you cut your squares to make your half square triangles a little oversized. And then you draw a line down the middle and you stitch on 1/4 inch from each side of that drawn line. In this case, I actually used a quarter cut marker. So I drew my lines that I was going to stitch on, but you want to make sure that they are centered on the corners of that square. So once I have those stitched, then I cut it apart. I actually really love the Quilter Select little rulers because they really do not slip. And I'll tell you what, with this Bloc ruler, it's very important that you have a true 1/4 inch seam allowance there. So when I cut that in half, I was just very careful to make sure that I was measuring from my center line when I cut that. Then, in this technique, I'm actually going to press my seam allowances to one side, and I'm going to iron those, and then I'm going to trim it using the Bloc ruler. So this is now opened up and you can see it's a little over 4, and I'm going to trim it down to 4. Bloc rulers are always made with the logo on the side that goes on the low side. So I've pressed the seam allowance towards the green, and my basket is what's called the low side because it doesn't have a half seam allowance there. And I'm going to place this on here and make sure that I have 4 inches over here because that's what I want. So you can see there's not very much to trim, so I really am not wasting very much fabric, but I'm going to get a very accurate thing. Now there are a couple things you can do. I could just rotate this entire little cutting mat, which is a cute little Lori Holt cutting mat, or I could just put this in the middle here and I can actually spin this all by itself and then go down. But in this case, so I've made that cut, I've spun it around. Now I'm going to line up my line on the cut edge, and I'm going to cut the other 2 sides. So once I have that, now I know I have a perfect 4-inch square for making a 3.5 inch finished square. This one I'm going to show you again. I do this, I actually use this cute little Fiskars rotating board. This one, the low side is actually the floral side, not the basket side. And I planned this out because the end use of these half square triangles is to sew 4 together to make a big square in a square. So I could just turn that like so, make this 4. I like this size. This is a 6.5 inch half square triangle ruler. It has all kinds of markings on it for every 1/2 inch. So you can use it up to a finished 6-inch square. So I'm going to trim those. Again, low side is the green, so my logo goes on the low side. When I start, I'm going to trim that up. It's sliding like on a rail. On the seam allowances, there's this little indentation, and it's precision created, engineered, which is why it's so important to have a true 1/4 inch seam allowance so that it doesn't budge on that. So I'm going to rotate it, slide that down on that rail of a seam allowance, and I'm going to cut it again. So now I have these perfect ones. I actually paid attention to which direction the seam allowances were going so that when I sew these together, and I probably should cut the last one. Here we go. I've got 2 of these here, and I have 2 of these here. Let's see if I have the same ones. And what has happened is I have seam allowances going this direction and seam allowances going this direction. But in order to nest everywhere, I'm going to rotate them like so. That still isn't right. Now you can see I also paid attention to what direction I was sewing the seam on my basket. But choose a fabric to start with that's easier than that. But it will nest perfectly because those seam allowances alternate. So you can see I will be able to, I'll turn it to you as if you're sewing it. So you will sew here, here, and then open them up, and you will be able to have this perfect 7.5 inch square because everything started out accurately, and it matches perfectly the 7.5 inch square that has been cut of my feature fabric. So now everything is accurate. Well, that's my just tip of the day. Look at the Bloc half square triangle rulers. They are an investment, but as you can see, I use mine all the time. So if you count cost per use, this is a bargain. Anyway, thanks for joining me today. I'm Charlotte again, Charlotte So Natural, here in downtown historic Newton, Kansas.